Hello and welcome back to AP Psychology. I'm Miss Lee. We are still in Unit 6, Developmental Psychology, and this is the second video in the series that focuses on prenatal and newborn development. By the end of this video, you should be able to explain the process of conception and gestation, including factors that influence successful prenatal development, and this includes nutrition, illness, substance use and abuse by the mother, as well as teratogens. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and grab your notes and let's get started. A discussion on development would not be a discussion about development if we didn't talk about conception. This is when a male's sperm fertilizes the female's egg. At this point, once the fertilization has happened, the egg blocks all other sperm. The egg actually changes its chemical makeup on the outside to block any further attempts at fertilization. Women are born with all the eggs they will ever have. Only about 1 in 5,000 actually mature. Men begin producing sperm at puberty and produce it 24/7 for the rest of their life. So once fertilization has occurred, this new one-cell entity contains 23 pairs of chromosomes, one member of the pair from the mother and the other from the father. Each chromosome contains thousands of genes, either individually or in combination. Genes produce the particular characteristics of each person. Genes are composed of sequences of DNA molecules. Some genes are responsible for the development of systems common to all humans, like the heart and circulatory system, the brain, the lungs, while others control characteristics that make each human unique, like eye color, height, facial features, some aspects of personality. Sex is also determined by a combination of genes. It's on the 23rd chromosome. So let's talk about the sequence of prenatal development. The first stage is called the zygote. This is a fertilized egg. Fewer than half survive the first 2 weeks. Weeks 2 through 8 make up the embryonic stage. At 2 weeks, the zygote becomes an embryo. By 4 weeks, the embryo has developed a rudimentary beating heart. It's very basic, but it gets the job done. It's also developed a very basic brain and intestinal tract. These organs are very primitive, but they can be recognized. And by 8 weeks, the embryo is about an inch long. It has arms, legs, and a face that are distinct. And here is the progress that we've just talked about. So you've got what a fertilized egg looks like on your far left, what an embryo looks like at 4 weeks, and then what the embryo looks like at 8 weeks. This is obviously not to scale, but it is enlarged to show detail. The fetal stage begins around 8 weeks, and it continues until birth. At week 8 or 9, it's now called a fetus. And by around 4 months, fetal movements are strong enough to be detected by the mother. This is sometimes called the quickening. At around 6 months, the eyelids open and the fetus has well-developed grasp and taste buds. The fetus reaches the age of viability, or the point at which it can survive if born prematurely, at about 24 weeks. About half of preemie babies survive at this age, and that percentage increases as each week passes. The fetus continues to grow and gain weight during the last 2 months. At the end of a normal 38-week or 9.5 months of pregnancy, the fetus typically weighs around 7 pounds and is about 20 inches in length. We do have some genetic prenatal influences. When you're talking about genetic factors, the major cause of genetic defects is faulty genes or chromosomes. Something just doesn't go right early on. A condition known as phenylketonuria, PKU, is the inability to break down protein. Another genetic-based disorder is Tay Sachs Disease, in which the body is unable to break down fat, which causes these substances to build up in and destroy brain and nerve cells until the nervous system basically shuts down. Babies usually start exhibiting signs of this disease around 4 to 6 months old, and children do typically die by the age of 5. If parents both carry this genetic defect, the child has a 1 in 4 chance of being born with the disease, and it does seem to occur most frequently in Central and Eastern European Jewish people and their descendants. And then we have Down syndrome. Down syndrome occurs when a zygote receives an extra chromosome at the moment of conception. It causes intellectual disability, usually in the mild to moderate range. This is often related to a mother's age. It's more common in babies born to mothers over the age of 35. There are characteristic facial features, including upward slanted eyes, smaller noses, ears, and mouth, and sometimes smaller hands and shorter necks. Often, these characteristics are accompanied by other health problems like heart, vision, and hearing. Our environment can also influence prenatal development. Teratogens collectively are the environmental agents such as drugs, chemicals, viruses, and any other factors that can produce birth defects. Illnesses in the mother can include rubella or German measles. This can cause blindness, deafness, heart abnormalities, and stillbirth. Syphilis can cause intellectual disability, physical deformities, and miscarriage for the mother, and AIDS can be passed on to the child prior to the birth of the child. The mother's use of drugs, illegal drugs like cocaine, can result in the baby being born addicted to the drug, but even some legal drugs can cause fetal abnormalities. Alcohol and nicotine use is included in that category. Fetal alcohol syndrome, or FAS, is a condition resulting in mental disabilities and delayed growth. Some physical features associated with FAS. You might see an abnormally thin upper lip, small eyes, an upturned nose, and a small head or abnormally formed brain. Most of these kids have some degree of intellectual disability, and many exhibit problems with attention span, learning, coordination, and behavior. Smoking can lead to fewer nutrients being received by the fetus, which results in lower birth weight. Heavy smoking may affect the brain. Here are some pictures of what a newborn baby looks like. These pictures are all taken of newborns at about an hour old. All babies are born with several reflexes, and reflexes are unlearned, involuntary responses that occur automatically in the presence of certain stimuli. There is the rooting reflex. This is an automatic turn of the head when the cheek is touched. So if you kind of do this, the baby's going to turn towards whatever the stimulus is. And it is believed that the rooting reflex is so that the baby can find a source of sustenance. The sucking reflex is basically anything that the baby has in its mouth or that touches his or her lips, the baby will suck. So if you put your finger at the baby's mouth, the baby is going to suck your finger. There is a startle reflex. If the baby is startled, usually by like a sudden noise, they will tend to fling their arms out, fan their fingers, and arch their back in response. And then there is a Babinski reflex. This is actually pretty fun to demonstrate if you happen to have a newborn handy. If you stroke the edge or the sole of the foot, their toes will fan out. Pretty funny. These reflexes are lost after the first few months of age and are replaced by more complex behaviors. There are other reflexes that do come under the control of the individual, like bowel movements and urinating. But also there are some reflexes that we maintain throughout our lifespan, like blinking, breathing, that type of thing. You don't have to think about breathing, usually, when you go to sleep at night. And that is it for prenatal and newborn development. In our next video, we'll be talking about infancy and childhood. I can't wait to see you then. Bye for now.